Hello, Fearless Gamers, and welcome to another podcast here on Fearless Games. I'm Matt the Vet, and today we are joined by...
James the Wildcard.
And no one else.
No one else.
Because we are hip and cool like that.
Just like my Halloween costume, I was a hipster. You wouldn't have known about it. It's too
yeah,
underground.
I saw a picture of it.
Yeah, but it was so underground you didn't even know it was in costume. That's how much of a hipster costume it was.
I went as an Occupy Wall Street guy.
We are the 99%.
Yeah, I am the 99%, according to them. Well, actually, no, I'm not, because I didn't smoke weed.
Well, there you go. Well, you're close. You're like the 97%.
Yes. You know, I wasn't fully dedicated.
Right. And you know what else I have to say?
What?
Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies? What about that book?
Well, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. They're making a film out of it.
Oh, yes, they are, just like they did, like, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Killer.
Yeah, I loved it. It was a great documentary on Abraham Lincoln's life.
Yeah, but, true, all true. I was there.
100%.
I saw it.
Yes. But the thing about Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, I feel like, with this will be another, like, upsurge for zombie fandom, because it hasn't really gone away.
Oh,
have
you not seen iZombie?
Oh, yeah, no, I know, and all of the Walking Dead spinoffs, but I will say this. I am intrigued by Pride and Prejudice and Zombies for the fact of the time period. You know
I dare say, good sir, why are you chewing on that man's brain?
I mean, it's not modern times with automatic weaponry and stuff. It's I'm intrigued on that level, and it'll bring up, like, you know, stuff from that time, because my big problem with, like, modern time zombie survival stuff when it comes out, and like the Walking Dead show is doing a pretty good job with it, because it's not a show about hunting zombies, it's about surviving in that time, in that setting.
And they've made to account the fact that no one's around to produce said stuff to hunt down zombies.
Yeah, but it's just like one of the big things, and our games aren't gonna pursue stuff with zombie hunting, but I know from target shooting a lot that during the course of shooting a pistol, a rifle, even a shotgun, the barrel gets hot because explosion happens and pushes the projectile out, so it gets hot. And the hotter a barrel gets, the more inaccurate the gun gets. But, you know, some of the hardcore, like, and it doesn't take hours. Like when you see some of the shows, it is unleash hell upon the zombies with a whole bunch of shooting for like hundreds and hundreds of rounds. That's enough to do it. And there's never been like a show to address that. Like, oh, gun's too hot, gotta let it cool, switch to another backup gun, or run away, or whatever. It's just stand your ground and fire like a machine gun. Nothing will go wrong. Aside from the heat, you also get lead buildup, but it's just, that's me really nitpicking the zombie thing, knowing that stuff, which is why it's really cool to see. I really find Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies as a movie will be cool to see, because there's no machine gun per se. You know what I mean? I just find doing it in a different time period is like refreshing.
You wait until you see it, and they decided that all they're going to do is machine guns.
Oh, of course.
They're going to open up a portal. The zombies are going to come through a portal with machine guns in tow, and the main lady, who's too prideful and too prejudiced, will pick up the machine gun, turn into Arnold, and go, "Ugh!" as she double mini guns it.
Well, of course, that's obviously the plot, but it's cool. Like I don't like when I see a zombie flick happen, I'm like, okay, it's either gonna be like comedy-esque or just done poorly or done well. But I'm kind of a little bit of a skeptic, because it's such a done thing. So seeing it in like a time period that's not modern, I actually find refreshing. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing like a zombie flick during like the Middle Ages, or like during like, you know, during like Roman times or something. Like, that would also be cool.
Sort of like a serious version of Bruce Campbell versus the Army of Darkness.
Yes, or sort of like a better job about the Ark. Sort of like Noah's Ark without Noah's Ark, and without the rock angel people, but you know, basically not that movie at all.
They were apparently the rock people were an actual thing in the Bible.
Well, you know, like, yeah.
Because my dad was commenting about, he was trying to remember what they were in the Bible, and he was actually recalling what characters they were.
Right, but my point is that it went from being Noah's Ark to being 300 in Noah's Ark.
His biggest comment about that was they made them sound like they were sympathetic like we were supposed to feel sorry for them, and in the Bible they're kind of like portrayed as monsters, and we weren't supposed to give a damn about them.
Right. I mean, not to get all biblical on it, but the funniest thing about
We're getting biblical.
The funniest thing about it is with that movie is how they were like, we want on your ark. No, well, we're going to take it by force. You gathered up an army and walked through a forest. You could have built your own boat. It's not like you're incapable of building a boat.
Yeah, Noah wasn't the only shipwraith.
Yeah, but it's just like you spent all this time getting ready to lay siege to this one boat when you could have built an armada of ships.
Pretty much.
It was just funny that, like, it was just funny. It was just funny. And it's like, but yeah, like something like that, but only with zombies and good and stuff. But yeah, no, when I saw Pride and Prejudice and zombies, like, because you guys like a trailer thing for it, I was like, wow, is it bad that I'm intrigued by this because of the time period, or is it good?
Yes.
It's like,
yes, it is.
But
speaking, yes,
yeah, no. If you're gonna speak of zombies, continue, because I had a question in regards to not zombie stuff.
Okay, no, I was gonna say speaking of zombies.
Okay, go for it.
No, what's your question?
Oh, but it had nothing to do with zombies.
Then what's your question?
Well, you remember Mage Knight, right?
Mage Knight? I've heard of.
It came out in like 2000 and was the first Click game really to come out.
That's the one where you play as the little mages and there's 4 of you?
You could. I mean, it's basically like... You know what's sad to say? It's basically kind of like how Warmachine plays, only there's no Warcaster and Jax, but like you basically... It was a miniature war game.
Okay.
But it was click form. And it came out
I heard of Mage Knight. I've never actually played.
It came out in 2000. So that's one of the reasons why when I saw Warmachine, it made me think of Mage Knight, because that came out after the fact. But it's also it's been reinvented as a board game.
Yep.
And it was supposed to also come out as like some type of card game, as an RPG book, but the RPG book I don't think has ever come out, which is unfortunate because that would be a cool setting. Again, kind of similar to the whole steampunky setting of Warmachine or the Iron Kingdoms, I should say. But my question is, you know Heroclixs, obviously, and people still do like Heroclix tourney or league stuff as like just as their own independent setup stuff. I would have to imagine there's not much support from the people who made Heroclix for that anymore.
Yeah, wizards.
Right. But do you feel clicks are dead, or in terms of there's really no more media for clicks, or do you feel clicks has a chance at being, still like sticking around as something that could be more, like a war game has to constantly evolve and change. With the way Warmachine is and other games having the cards that replace the click, essentially, do you feel like clicks are basically a done medium?
I would say that I do believe, that clicks are basically in their specialist games time period right now, where they're surviving, but I think the clock's running out on them.
Yeah, I have to agree, because I was thinking about the other day, thinking about Mage Knight, because I really liked it. I just at that time I only had one other person who had any Mage Knight. We bought it together. We tried to learn, but we kind of failed at the same time. But because it has a similar vibe to Iron Kingdoms. There's golems, and as opposed to Jax's steam golems and blade golems and stuff like that. And you had like mages and undead and all that stuff in there. It was a really cool setting, which is why I wish the RPG book actually happened. Maybe it still will. It's just taking a longer time. Who knows? But who knows? I was looking at it going, one of my big things for why I felt it was very click-like for Warmachine is A, the setting felt very similar, and B, the Warjacks having a thing for their arms, like having a big click base with multiple clicks, one for the left, one wing and stuff. Then it got me thinking, Warmachine cards are kind of a better way of doing the clicks. You don't have to pick up the model, put it down, or basically interrupt any of that stuff. And you could do a bit more on a card, or in Battletech's case, Battletech Classic Battletech, not Battletech Alpha Strike, the whole character sheet, D&D character sheet for your mech, because it's a huge sheet. It's 2 pages of stuff to keep track of your mech. You can put obviously a lot more stuff on that than you can on a click base, because, you have to make a really big disc if you're going to put a lot of stuff on the clicks. But, and it made me think, I haven't really heard of anything, and it's been tried. There was a Mech Warrior click, Age of Darkness, or whatever it's called, and there was obviously Heroclix, and Mage Knight had his thing. I think D&D had a click, didn't it? or something
I don't
like
know.
it. There was something more fantasy-esque. I don't remember what it was. I assumed it was D&D because, of course, everything in fantasy has a beholder-esque, and that's what I saw. So I'm like, oh, it must be a beholder, but who knows? So I was thinking, I was thinking, and I have to agree with you, I think Clicks is in that, it's there. Maybe you can purchase some still, maybe not. Maybe.
Oh, yeah, you could still definitely purchase it, but it's... Excuse me. It's starting to get stagnant, I think.
Yeah, I don't really... Because I remember I went to this random comic shop in Florida. It was like months ago when I was down there for something. And there was no wargaming at all in there. It was really just comic books and war game stuff. And there was a Click League game finishing up going on there. And I was like, really? Still? But I didn't say that because everybody was really into it. But I was taken aback and kind of surprised, and it was cool to see. But I was thinking, I don't really feel like this Click thing is going to last. I feel like, Robotech being a card-based thing, and if there was going to be the one thing Clicks have, and it's not necessarily Clicks because X-Men vs. TIE Fighter does this, is the fact that you don't have to do anything to them. You just paint. You don't have to paint it. You could if you wanted to, but you didn't have to. So, I think that's its only thing is that maybe might keep it sticking around a bit longer than it should.
Sorry, answering technical questions.
Gotcha.
So I just want to switch gears a little bit right now.
Gears.
Into something a little bit new in the universe of gaming.
And that is Game Boy Original.
but yes, Game Boy Original. No, the Betrayal of Calth is now a thing coming out now, soon, to a theater near you.
Right.
Thoughts?
I felt that if the Horus Heresy thing was true for GW to produce it, it would have to be something like Calth. I'm not surprised that they want Calth because Ultramarines,
Yeah,
but...
Well, which is interesting is that looking at pictures, they're actually non-Legion specific.
Which is good, but which is the way they would have to do it and to work. That was my concern with that it being such a specific battle, is that if it's all sculpted, you're really...
cutting down your market to only the Ultramarine players and the Word Bearer players.
Right, and that's the big, I think, flaw for the Space Marines and Dark Vengeance. The Chaos are fine. It's the Dark Angels, as cool as they look, the big flaw of Dark Vengeance is that they're so specific.
Yes, if you're not a Dark Angel player...
Good luck.
Goodbye.
So that's nice, but I had a figuring that we have to do something specific like this, and something in which they would not be treading on Forge Rule's feet at all. And so I think this was a good call because this is that one battle that no matter who talks about it and reinvents it is going to be the same. So.
Yep. I find it interesting. I do like that. Suppose that the root word is that the Contemptor Dread that's in it. His arms are designed in such a way where you can swap out the arms he comes with Forge World arms.
Right.
Which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
And supposedly this is going to be a stepping stone for replacing the Lord of the Rings line for GW. And I think that would be interesting. Like, throwing in, essentially basic unit stuff that people need. That way they don't need to spend, $150 for a squad of Marines. They could just go and spend $60 to get a set of them, type of thing.
Yeah, I mean... it'll be a bit odd if it's an actual, replacement for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Because, obviously, it's not Lord of the Rings at all. But, and that's a bit odd. Honestly, I feel like the whole Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, Middle-earth, whatever it's called now, is kind of...
It's just Lord of the Rings.
Is kind of bleh.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings was the issue with that is, in my opinion, it was very super specific.
Oh, it's the most niche game you'll play.
If you're not a fan of The Hobbit, or Lord of the Rings, Thank you, good sir.
And even still, I am a fan of that, but I never would. It never hit me that it should be a war game, and even though it has one, it never hit me as something to try.
I tried reading the rules once, like they put in White Dwarf, and I was I have no idea how you play this.
I read the rules, and I kind of was getting it. At the same time, I was like, no, I'm gonna go watch TV, basically. But
if I want a Hobbit, I'll watch the movie.
Right, but at the same time, for me, the Lord of the Rings, Hobbit, Middle Earth, Silmarillion, whatever name you want to put in for that Tolkien stuff, is more of an RPG, like type of tabletop RPG or a video game. To me, it's never really been something I went, it'd be great doing what we never see in the movies unless it's way too over the top to do, and that is have armies on either side. Because
it would be great. Let's play a game where we know one side loses.
Right, like it never. And then when the whole thing is, here's Gandalf, I'm like, there's no way you could. There's no just him alone. There's no way you could have him represent on a table.
Well, to be fair, in like the book, I get in the books and such that he's this awesome dude, and because he's basically a deity and all that. But if you really watch the movies and a good chunk of in parts of the book, like the parts everyone always talks about, he doesn't seem as badass as everyone always makes him out to be.
Oh yeah, no, Gandalf is very much kind of like, if they don't think you've done anything, then you've done it right.
Yeah,
and
he's very much a let them solve their own problems type of character.
But also, when I do it, what I do is not going to be fireball. It's not going to. Yeah. It's going to be very subtle. Unlike Sauron, who has force staff battles.
Yeah,
and calls out amongst the winds and everything.
Because when I first saw that, I was like, everyone makes such a big deal about Gandalf, but this guy kind of seems like a chump. Also,
the big bad stuff that they make him do in some of the stuff is always like, I must go away from you to do some really awesome stuff.
Yeah.
And, so it's like, I want to see your awesome stuff, wizard, deity, spirit thing.
I want to see the god do stuff.
Right, but every time it's like, I must leave you now. Why? Because I'm going to be epic, and I don't want to describe it in this book. Bye.
I must go now. Why? Because my epicness needs me.
Exactly. So,
but can't you stay here with your epicness? No, my epicness is needed somewhere else.
Yes.
Is it relative to what we're doing? Oh, no. In fact, you'll never even know or hear about anything that I do.
Yes. So,
what?
And even it's just when you make special characters like the Witch King and stuff like that,
yep.
You can't expect people to be 100% okay with how they're represented, right?
Yeah.
Even doing something as simple as just doing the riders,
yep.
And everything. Even that is too. I always felt what was flawed about it is, okay, here's a skirmishy semi-army battle game. So by that design, Gandalf and the Witch King and stuff shouldn't be as epic feeling or as over the top or as crucial as would be at something much more smaller skirmish level. But at the same time, you want them to be, and it's weird.
Yeah.
So it also super niche. Like if you don't like Middle Earth stuff, you're not gonna even want to go for it. Maybe some of the models, I will say, some of the models really look cool.
Yeah.
But they're
not even also the other big issue with that on that other scent. For me, is they're not even proper scaled.
Oh yeah, no, they're not.
If only they were scaled more, because I could use those ring wraiths as cool librarians or something. But they look
so are really
tiny. They're so tiny.
Yeah, they're tiny ring wraiths. But the Balrog's a really cool model, for example.
The Balrog is a really awesome model. That'd be a cool demon prince.
Yeah, but it's such. When I first saw them do Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit games, I figured this is a limited time only type of run. That's what I first thought. The fact that it's still here surprises me, to be honest.
Well, supposedly, things have gotten smaller and smaller in their group. Supposedly, it's because they're starting to lose the contract.
Yeah, I that makes sense. So it's just that I wouldn't think. I mean, as much as I like the Horus Heresy time period and this Battle of Calth would be a cool thing and all that to kind of have stuff happen for it continually.
Yeah.
I would rather Lord of the Rings get replaced with a new IP than just here's 40K in the past. You know what I mean?
I would honestly think, personally, like if they were going to do a 40K past thing, do the Great Crusade or something. That way we could get different alien races.
Yeah, no, I mean that would be
seeing
cool.
like something really like in one story in Fear to Tread, Horus mentions a very interesting alien race. I'm like, I'd like to see those guys.
Well, yeah, well, where they get the knife that stabs Horus that they get and steal on purpose to give to the guy to make Horus go chaos. They get from this planet, which is like these people who one of the things they do is they go on centaur armor. They're not centaurs, but they go into this armor that makes them like centaurs, and they do
centaurs.
Stuff.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of really cool like pseudo-human, human-esque, alien-esque stuff, or like human-alien hybrid type stuff, and that they describe. I mean, one of the ones that would be the easiest to represent just for fun would be the aliens on Murder, because they were very Tyranid-esque. But but there's other stuff out there. Plus, it's not even just stuff that they killed. There's constant references to aliens in 40K that represent 30K that we just never the Ghoul Stars and stuff, like the aliens from there that are constantly being fought and even referenced in novels. It's like, what are these things?
That would also be a great way to introduce, like, the Extradites, because they would be on planets that they would be conquering.
Yeah.
And then it would be... Then you'd have, like, stuff like that thrown in.
I just feel... The other reason I would... As much as I would like it to be its own separate thing, that way it doesn't contrast too much with 40K, is... As much as I would like that... Okay. Well... The Warhammer crowd base would get, I would think, have like a thing, kind of a legitimate thing to be uppity about. It's like, so you take away our army battle game, you give us Age of Sigmar, which is a completely different style of play. I'm not saying it's bad or better.
Yeah.
It's different, but we don't support the old style of play. But here you are supporting Horus Heresy stuff that Forger's kind of doing, and you're kind of jumping in on it too, and we're just left here with just the Warhammer Fantasy line being Age of Sigmar. Like, what about us? Type of deal. I could see that being a potential thing. It's just, I don't know. Obviously, Lord of the Rings will most likely be replaced. IP
with
results.
Lord of the Rings.
Yes, with Lord of Ring 2.
Ging.
Yeah, but
Lord of Ringing, the Ringening.
But I think, if anything, the most logical thing. I mean, the Horus Heresy hype train is still large, so it would make sense to cash in on that. But I would like to see what with all of the decades of experience, because they are a real long-running wargaming company, the ability to have a fresh, clean slate and bring up brand new IP completely different, it'd be really interesting to see what the old dog can do. You know what I mean? That's just for me out of pure curiosity. I don't know if it would make sense for them to do it at all, but it would be kind of cool to see something like that. But speaking of, old dogs and all that, how about their Warmachine models?
What about them?
I was looking at stuff the other day in Crix, just because I know some of this, because you used to have a Crix thing, and in the Monsternomicon, the Deathjack is the coolest thing. So
the Monsternomicon. I like the Deathjack's the lore, how it's a hello weird bird bonejack thing. Type in, and the first thing I see is the Shrike.
Yeah, that weird thing.
That's a thing.
Yeah, that's a
Comes
thing.
Comes out January 31st. It's a vulture
thing.
It's interesting look to it.
But like the Iron Lich, I forget his name all the time.
Asphyxious.
It's not 14 different models of them, but there's a lot of different models of them, including one that's labeled specifically classic, right?
Yep.
And I just find it weird, because from what I understand with Warmachine, correct me if I'm wrong, weapons have to be in certain hands, or is that more a Jack thing?
That's a Jack thing.
And then, did it used to be wherever they're facing is where they're facing, or something like that?
They have a 180-degree line of sight.
Right.
So if you're behind them, then you have special bonuses to attacking them.
But that line of sight is determined by feet or head?
by the front of the jack.
Okay.
So if you notice, pretty much all the Warmachine characters have the slit base.
Yeah.
So with their slit bases, there's clearly a front because the front has a larger piece in front of it.
Yeah.
So you would take the slit on the base and mark that, and then paint that front that color, and that's their front arc.
Okay. Now, other thing I noticed is that there's like different levels of, what level up are you with Asphyxious or whomever.
Yep.
And his biggest, baddest one has like a weird, I think it is his biggest bad one, I don't know, has like a weird demony sword as opposed to a staff.
Yes.
Now,
Asphyxious, the Harbinger.
Yeah, now, if you just like the classic model more, but you want to run those rules, is that a no-no because he doesn't have the sword, he's got a staff?
As far as I'm aware, no one will complain if you run a different version of them as long as the bases and everything are the same.
Right. It's just
the thing with him though is you're going to need both models because he comes with two models when he's with the sword version.
Yeah, which is weird. I mean, like, and the one thing that's weird for me is like, okay, my name is Caligar, right?
Yep.
If you play him in Power Armor, you buy the Power Armor one. If you play him in Terminator Armor, you buy the Terminator Armor one.
Yep.
That's the most kind of like, you could say, classic and new you get there. And if, for example, when Lamarte's got a new model, the old model was, well, also rightfully chucked away, but no longer for sale, could you still run it? Sure, because the only thing that would be different would be Asmodai because it's War Gear change. But it's a War Gear change, a new model. Why sell 4 different versions of Asphyxious?
Most likely, because not as much now as was before. You would need to purchase the model in order to get his rules.
Right.
And some people like to do that just so they know which version of the model they're running.
But it's just, I get it, new rules and whatnot, but if you, let's say it's a new model, new rules, new package, well then the old one is I'm sorry, it's gone.
Well, with this one is it's because it's also type, like, with a good example is your version, Asphyxious the Harbinger. He has certain abilities and certain stats that classic Asphyxious doesn't have. Your army may be built around classic Asphyxious.
Right, and that's the thing
and it's also based on time period as well.
That's part of my confusion here, because it almost feels like, okay, let's say classic Asphyxious, let's just say, is 2nd edition. I'm just throwing numbers out there.
Yep.
And it's like, I'm going to run a 2nd edition army against a 4th edition army is what it feels like people can do. Like, it feels like it just, that to me, it just seems odd. And also kind of seems like, why would you? Because the latest metagame makes your 2nd edition army useless, almost.
Well, that's the thing is there are certain builds that some of the older models work better with. Like, a good example, I'm huge into Jax.
Right.
So the best Nemo for me is the 2nd Nemo, the first epic level Nemo. The newer Nemo isn't really Jack built. So that's why I would run regular Nemo over new Nemo, because new Nemo doesn't fit the army that I have.
Right.
And I've got a lot of Storm Blades. I would want... I've got a lot of Storm Chargers. I'd want the newest Striker, because Striker actually gives benefits to the Cavalry, whereas where if I was running a lot of the on-foot Storm Blades, I would run them. And that's really where that piece comes in, is different army setups work with different characters, and it's also time period based. If you're playing an original time period game, you would use the first level of them. If you're playing a mid-time period game, you'd use their epic level. If you're playing a current round, you'd use the most recent model.
See, that to me, like, I get what they're going for, which makes kind of an interesting idea, but at the same time, it just seems a bit weird because, like, it seems like an unnecessary money pit. Now, granted, if you bought, let's say, Lich Lord Asphyxious because you like the way Lich Lord Asphyxious looks over Iron Lich Asphyxious, right?
Yeah.
But you're running Iron Lich Asphyxious, whatever. You got the model, he's got the same looking war gear enough, and you're just running different rules because you have the rules, so you can do that. That's fine.
Yeah, the army, thankfully, that's one thing that's different is there's no WYSIWYG in Warmachine.
Yeah, but, well, yeah, I get that, but my point is, it's just, like, why, like, especially if, now, I'm not saying he's like this, A, because I don't know his story, and B, it's whatever. But and I don't know if Lich Lord Asphyxious was before him being an Iron Lich at all. Or if it's just
what it was is Iron Lich Asphyxious, that was his first name. Because in their universe there are a bunch of Lich Lords.
Yeah, I get that.
And Asphyxious wanted to be one, but he was nobody. So he jumped inside a volcano to prove that he loved the Dragon God. So the Dragon God pulled him out of the volcano and put him in an iron body, and that's where he got the title Iron Lich.
Right. But
he now is a Lich Lord,
right?
Because he moved through the ranks.
Yeah, well, I'm not. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying he was not metally as a Lich Lord, but let's just say there was a Lich who somehow became a Iron Lich, body shift, and that is the theoretical Warcaster making up just kind of like how you see him progressing through the ranks through his models. You could say if you had a Lich like. In this time period, I was flesh and bone. In this time period, I'm metal. Well, why would I play the flesh and bone time period against that time period's nemesis? You know what I mean? Like if he's an Iron dude or a Lich Lord as opposed to just a Lich, and the villain or opposing army is running level 3. Let's just say it's level 3 because I have no idea.
Yeah.
Level 3 is Lich Lord as opposed to the Iron Lich, and the opponent's running level 3. Whatever dude shouldn't would that dictate me playing level 3 Lich Lord or just I could be an Iron Lich against him?
Nope, your time period doesn't really have enough factor into that unless you guys decide you want to run a fluffy game.
Right. It just seems a bit odd as like a weird money pit because it's like, oh, you want to and especially in the past when the rules had to be gotten that way. It's like, oh, you want Lich Lord Asphyxious rules? You gotta buy Lich Lord, even though you have Asphyxious and it's a perfectly good model to run. It's just and then going off of that, I mean, they have invested stock in Asphyxious, and I guess you could say a little bit into.
He is the one that they have a giant life-size statue out front of their building.
Right, they kind of invested a little bit into Asphyxious, and then. I remember Lich Lord Terminus, but I don't know too much about him. But
he was my favorite model. If I ran Lich Lord Terminus, there was a friend that I could never beat unless I put Lich Lord Terminus in. I could keep the same army, just remove the Warcaster and put Lich Lord Terminus, and I'd beat him. And he'd be like, dang it! It got so bad, his wife wasn't allowed to run him. Because he was so angry at the fact that he could never beat Lich Lord Terminus.
And then, but aside from just the fact that you have 14 different levels of one Warcaster, but the other thing that I never could wrap my head around is why create, and you can see this by looking at Retribution or Convergence, looking at their Warcasters, they have a lot less options for multiple different types of Warcasters, or let's say mercenary Warcasters that work in a Signar Force or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
The metagame, I get it, but it just seems like the metagame I only ever have saw, and I haven't seen Warmachine play in a couple of years, but when I did see it play, because I like looking at the cool models people would paint up, the metagame was, oh, you're running Signar, well, there's 2 to 3 different Warcaster people, not levels, but the people, like Nemo, Striker, and somebody else. And then if you're running Crix, it's basically Asphyxious or Bust, maybe Terminus. But and then if you're running Khador, it's something. If you're running Signar, like I said, or if you're running Minoth, there's it was always the 2 or 3, but there's a dozen.
Yep.
That was the big turnoff for me with Warmachine, because I've multiple times I debated playing it, and I will admit when Retribution came out, I was like, maybe I'll play it now because I just thought they looked like wintergreen. Why not? And then Convergence came out, and I didn't ultimately like the look they were going for it, but that still piqued my interest again. And then when the mercenary thing came out, it was a mercenary thing, so it's not its own thing. But
the mercenary force.
Whatever
I forget their name.
Yeah, they don't have jacks. The jacks are reverse jacks. I forget their name.
They are mercenaries. They were the mercenary. Come on, show the thingy.
Cephalix.
Yes.
The Cephalix really piqued my interest because I really like the Cephalix again from the Monsternomicon.
Siphons, yep.
Yeah, those things were cool. But the big thing that turned me off of it was okay, Crix, Warcaster, Fixies is cool. Oh my goodness, might as well just buy the Hellbringer and just play whatever with that model. But then it's like, well, how is the Soul Weaver? How is Goreshade? How is this guy? And it's just like, check out these 17 others you got. And it's like, what's going on? Like, I'm not going to say it's not complicated because I don't know the rules. That doesn't make it complicated. It just means I'm an outsider still. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it just seemed like a weird way to do things, especially also with units. Like, there's so many different units they list for, like, Signar, and I've only ever seen, like, 3.
Yeah. It's a whole piece that I've been meaning to talk about in a personal video about all these different war games and such. But it seems to be but I seem to find that's the case with pretty much every game that's out there. The biggest thing though is the scale of it. Like, for a good example, Warhammer 40k, let's just use as an example here. If you look in the codex with, like, troops, we'll just use troops as a basic, because it's the best prime example. There's only usually 1 or 2 troop choices you ever pick. But there's 3 choices usually. So there's usually 1 that gets ignored.
Well, it depends.
So
like, Eldar have a lot more choices. But...
Yeah, but I'm just saying in general. There's generally 1 to 2 units that are getting ignored. So it's like, really. Okay.
To be honest, like, for example, I mean, Chaos, if you go with a Chaos Lord with Khorne, then you can make Berserkers.
Well, I'm talking generally just.
But what
I'm
saying is
not
you're
using the special rules or anything.
You're not
like
ignoring the Chaos Space Marine squad. Also, with Space Marines, it's just scouts or tactical, and both are used, and both have their place. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll never use Centurions. Apparently, they're really good. I just hate their models.
Well, we can't use them anyway.
Yeah, but I would never use them anyway. And there's like, I would not run support Landspeeder squadrons over an attack squadron of Ravenwing. But that's just, that's style preference, I find, with like 40k, and with Infinity, I find also there's a certain style preference. Also, I really don't know what's what in Infinity. I really have no clue when you look at all the units.
But see, that's what I think is the issue there, is because there's less options and there's more style choices. It's like, oh, okay, no big deal. But when you have Warmachine, where you have all these options and only 2 were being picked, it's like, why?
Yeah, to me, that's what I mean. Like, with 40k, it's either, okay, Centurions might be a specialist build with Librarians hopping around blowing stuff up or whatever it is, right? Yeah. But then you look at, and don't get me wrong, I ignore flat out things. Like, I never ran Librarian ever. I never planned to. But I find that's less, when you look at if you took a statistical pool, you'll see units are used roughly almost equivalent for the most part. Some are definitely used lesser than others. But then you look at, like, your example here with Signar, and it's like, well, why isn't anybody using 75% of what's out there? And it just seems odd to me. And now with Infinity, don't even get me started. I have no idea about Infinity. Like,
Infinity, where I've dipped into the Infinity circuit for a lot of it, and it seems to run the same issue as Warmachine. There's a lot of options, yes, you can take, but why would you take anything other than these 3 dudes? Because those 3 dudes are the only ones that you should be taking,
right,
because they're the only ones that'll beat the 3 dudes that everyone else is taking from another force.
And, I mean, that's the upside of the downside of 40k's method, which is, I mean, for Space Marines, you can customize them; they look cool, so you can buy stuff and whatever. But that's not what we're talking about. It's just that happens to be a plus there. But like, the plus side is there's not 17 units per choice of your army, so things aren't just sitting there going, I'm a thing too, guys, as much. And the downside is you don't have much diversity when you think about it. When it comes to, like, Space Marines, you got tactical squads and scouts. Like, well, that's not really diverse in comparison to the grand scheme of, let's say, a Warmachine force with something.
And that's why we have those issues when GW, like, makes a new codex, and then all of a sudden that unit that everyone always takes is useless, and now the unit no one took is completely the only thing you should take.
Yeah, I mean...
And that's why we're noticing it more, because they're like, well, we have to make these guys sell, because we only have 2 units, and only one of them is selling.
Right. I mean, the biggest example I ever ran into with that was Necrons when Pariahs went extinct in place, but you could just field them as a Lich Guard or something, or Triarch.
Yeah.
But it's just like, there was a whole new, we had to make them cells, we had to make them all really fancy, and then that got kind of tweaked over time. But still, even with Necrons and everybody else, the pool of choices you have is smaller, and you run into a separate issue. It's not a better thing; it's a separate issue. And it's funny, the pool of choices, granted it's troop, fast attack, heavy support, and stuff like that, is smaller per choice, but the games are bigger model counts. And then the game that's a smaller model count has a bajillion choices, which is no longer a skirmish game because it's now officially an army game because it grew big enough.
Yeah, no, I've seen, because like I said, I've mentioned it before, I've had it where they're like, oh, you know, you just need 25 points and you're ready to go. Oh yeah, you're pretty good, but you really should get this army up to 50 points. Then you'll really start, like, balling and having a lot of games because, you know, no one plays 25 points anymore. Oh yeah, you got up to 50 points, but if you really want a lot of options and really run this well, you got to throw this, get this army up to 100 points. Then you'll be balling, man. You will be, like, unstoppable. And I'll totally play you, like, every other day because, you know, who plays 50 points now? I mean,
that's the weird thing, you know, because I'm not saying everybody's like this, but like,
yeah, no, but I'm just inexperiences.
Yeah, but obviously it's happened enough where it's a thing. Like, I've never really had it in 40k. Even when I was first getting the army up, how many points do you have? 725. All right, I'll build a 725 list and we'll have a game. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I have 5,000 points. Okay, I don't. Well, I'll build your level and we'll play. I never run to a game, you know, once you reach this level, then we can play. I mean,
yeah, he's never hit a level of, you really need to get to this point level in order to have a good army.
I mean, granted, you know, there's tournaments, things, but, like, just for playing, I've never had anybody in a 40k game go, you don't have enough points, I can't play you.
Yeah,
which it's weird that's even like a thing that people say.
It's less. It's like because it's also like, not to knock, is like, I have had people play me at smaller games.
Yeah, of course.
But everyone's always like, oh man, you know, these small games aren't really as good as they used to be. You really should get this. You really should get some more dudes. Like, that's always tends to be the end of the conversation is you really should get more dudes.
Right, and of course people will play you most likely.
Yeah, because no one wants you to stop playing.
Yeah, and it's just, but it's just, you know, I never had, like I said, when I was building up my army, I never had somebody go, man, you know, this game's a lot more fun when it's bigger. They will say, you know, you're being this small, you don't really have access because you don't have these models yet, but it's not like, oh, I can't. It's not. It never was like a backhanded thing, you know.
Yeah.
Which is weird to say in general, but I'm sure people in 40k do it, and Fantasy do it, and Infinity do it. But like I try getting into these things. Infinity, I like the look of it, but then you try to read stuff and you go, I don't know what any of this stuff does, and then you go, I don't. And
the rules for Infinity are a little complicated.
The rules are a little. They're a little weird, and the biggest thing that I find interesting, yet also a big kind of drawback for me, is the D20 system it uses.
The biggest thing that I have to say, if there's any one thing that I like about Infinity, like, there's something where I'm like, this is what makes Infinity awesome, is the fact that your weapons do things.
Oh yeah, that's really
cool. Like the fact that, like, I shoot you, he's dead. Yeah, you shot him. I shot him and he died. Awesome. Like, that's probably the best thing about, because though it may just be like a 40k stigma thing for me, because I'm like, I fired 50 million shots. How many wounds did I do? 1. I guess I need another 50 shots.
What I like. I like both sides of the equation. Like, for me, weapons need to be something to help you out, but at the same time, armor needs to do, like, for example, armor should be armor and not a regenerating shield like in Halo. And where after you lose it, you die. You know. Armor should be armor, and I like how 40k handles it. If the armor piercing is not equal to or less or a smaller number, you get to make an armor save or attempt to.
Yeah.
That handles armor being armor. What I don't like is the idea of, I shot you and it didn't even hurt you. You know?
Yeah.
Like, cause especially when he's playing or I swung this meteorically sized hammer or a blade the size of a tank into your chest and just scratched you. Really? Really? Like, that part bothers me because it should be, well, especially, for example, here's an example. I had a Demolisher Vindicator. Vindicator cannon, the Demolisher cannon fire off, blew up a Predator tank, enemy's Predator tank, and it was the blast was also hit for maximum damage, to the a random infantry guy. I forget who it was, right? But it wasn't even like a heroic character. It was like the dude. It was like a dude, like a tactical marine, let's just say, for example. And I'm like, time to wound him. A 1. So I blew up the tank. And he's like, oh, wow, that's really sucks to be that guy. Really? Really? The thing exploded a tank right next to him, and he just kind of like, oh, I got some dust on my shoulder. Which is why, you shoot him, ow, he's dead. Infinity is cool, but I also like armor being armor. So it's a weird blend. It's just, for me, with Infinity is, I look at some stuff, and part of it, to be honest, is the naming of it. Some of the naming for some units, I'm like, I don't even want to try and read it. I don't even want to look into it anymore. This word is too long for me. But whatever, what I was wondering? Remember the Dystopian Wars? Was like Dystopian Armada, like the Ground War one.
Dystopian Legions.
Yeah, whatever. Is that still around?
That's still around. You can, if you go to like I've been to the War Store recently. They still sell them. They're still around. It's just that for me, no one around seems interested at all.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. Like the big, I'm curious, fearless gamers. Like, what, aside from, I'm assuming 40k and Warmachine are pretty much standardized around the Watering Hole, you know what I mean?
By now.
Yeah, but like, so if you go to any type of war game, a place that sells wargaming stuff, you're going to see 40k and Privateer Press stuff. Well, GW and Privateer Press stuff, I'm assuming. No matter where
Dystopian Legions, that's what it was called.
Yeah,
right?
I'm assuming that's where people, no matter where you go, is what you'll see. But aside from the two big ones, Privateer Press and GW, is there any other, like, Flames of War used to be big by us, for example.
Yep. Flames of War is still huge. Like, I was just in the game store recently, and they were like, "Hey, you like Battlefleet Gothic, right?" And like, "Yeah, I love Battlefleet Gothic." Well, there's this great game that you should try, and I'm like, I just don't like the models. Sorry. Though I will admit, I'm very big into giving Drop Fleet Commander a look, because I like the rules for that.
That's cool, but I mean, like, the Flames of War, the World War II game.
Yes.
That was growing.
That was huge.
It was huge, yes. And it died down and became more of a niche thing again. But it's still there. But like you'll see that probably is like the third thing you'll probably come across Flames of War stuff. But like, yes. I'm curious because I like Infinity, not really that big. Dystopian Legion, again, not really that big. BattleTech. Or BattleTech Alpha Strike, or the smaller size BattleTech model, which is a completely different game, which makes it confusing when you're trying to get into BattleTech. You don't really see it that much, aside from somebody go, "Oh yeah, I played that." Oh, so yeah, I said I played that. I'm not playing it anymore. And they have the models, they just don't take them out ever. But yeah. I'm curious, because there's other war games out there, and I guess, Malifaux is kind of, sort of, maybe big-ish.
Malifaux is something that Malifaux's that game, I feel, where everyone's like, you sure you don't want to give it a try? I think you'll like it. Are you sure?
I feel the same way.
Are you positive? Want to split that stapler?
You want to... don't get me wrong. With Malifaux, the rules could be pure gold, right?
Yes. I hear nothing but great things about it.
I'm not saying they are pure gold. I'm saying the rules could be the best wargaming rules ever. I will never really get into Malifaux because there's nothing about the models that I like. That visually, it doesn't do it for me. There's never been a faction or models come out where I collect that. And I've looked into it multiple times. Every time I go, this style just isn't for me. And as a nerd, and in nerddom, visuals are important. That's why I was really upset when I remade them properly after I accidentally deleted them. My Xenoverse character, the hair I chose, didn't really work when they went Super Saiyan. Yeah, I'm going there, because I didn't know that the hair didn't transform with you. It just turns gold.
Yeah.
So I picked.
Yep.
I was like, man, now I got to pick different hair for the transformation that makes sense. But that's the level of nerddom, because it's the same thing with going, I don't want my Dark Angel captain to not have a robe. What is this, the Dark Ages?
Yeah.
It's all that visual stuff, and that's precisely why Malifaux doesn't do it for me. And also, it's weird, because a lot of other games that I have an interest in, I like visually, and then I have an interest in checking out, but then I go places, and it's not even for sale. It's like, clearly they got to be selling. So I'm curious where, like, you don't have to say where you're from. If you want to, you can say the state or whatever, but outside of the big 2 to 3, what games do you see like have an active audience, an active crew? Because I really am interested, because obviously they sell Infinity models at the Wargaming store near me, but nobody plays it. But they sell it. It's weird. It's like, so you're still selling it, so people must be buying it, but why is nobody playing it? But so I'm curious what is being sold, what is selling and being played, because that's obviously how games survive. But I don't, we haven't seen certain games where we've been gaming.
Yeah.
I haven't seen games where I've been in Pennsylvania and North Carolina, but clearly they must be doing it. So I'm curious if the gamers have any insights to that, because I'm quite frankly a little bit stumped.
Yeah. So, and with that, we are running fast out of time, so we will leave it with that question. Please leave a comment, give us your thoughts, and also, what are you guys' thoughts on the whole Battle of Calth thing coming out? Sorry, I'm losing my mind right now. So yes, what are your thoughts on these different games and everything else? And,
yes, and what do you think of Battle of Calth? And what do either you play, or what do you see being played in like having 2 random like gamers out of nowhere playing a game once in a blue moon doesn't count. But what do you see on like a regular enough basis that you could join in on the fun being played by you?
Yeah. So with that, thank you all for watching and listening. And until next time, Fearless Gamers, this is Matt the Vet.
James the Wildcard.
Saying take care.
Peace.